I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. And welcome to the October 2023 regular meeting of the RBB School Board. Please let the record show that that Mr. Zamas, Mr. Kerr, Mr. Durnall, and Mr. Tucker are all present, and Mrs. Jacobs was not able to be here this evening. So we have visitor comments, and we ask that the visitors come to the podium and give your name, and we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, my name is Andrea Andrews. I'm actually, okay. Andrea Andrews, I'm your EIS library. I also have 3 students currently in the RBB schools here at the high school. I've had 4 students go through our program here at school. Recent studies in February of 2023 surveyed 216 and 17-year-olds, both male and female, from various sports and locations around our country. It reported that 91% have some level of anxiety from sports. Approximately 60% were experiencing moderate to extreme stress. Many athletes wanted to get help, but they didn't do so because they weren't aware of the mental health facilities, and they were worried about the stigmatism around mental health problems. Another study in 2019, before COVID, stated that nearly half the American youth struggle with some type of mental illness before the age of 18, while 12% have experienced depression. Many of our student athletes report higher levels of negative emotional state than our non-student athletes. And the study also found that athletes who are overtrained and they are exhausted, they are sleep deprived, and this is a major contributor to the anxiety and depression. Parents, we bear some responsibility to this, but also our coaching staff as well. Nothing personal. I love you guys. Coaches who belittle athletes, erupt at them, and sometimes ignore athletes for days as punishments. Some of them encourage teammates to compete against each other. Some of them harass and shame less talented players, and they drum the need for mental toughness. We are asking for kids to have mental toughness in adolescents who are still developing that part of their brain. Our school program uses the TBIR, trust-based relational intervention, as our trauma-informed intervention that we use here at RBB. We are to correct, to connect, and empower our students in our corporation. I'm asking for you, all administration, to add coaches to our TBIR trainings. Pay them so they can properly know how to de-escalate and to see our students when they're on the verge of a mental crisis. They need to be taught the balance of school, athletics, and life. My own children were spending 35 to 37 hours each week on a sport. The stress and exhaustion took a toll on them, resulting in one of them having an emotional blow up the first time in 6 years, and the other one quitting to support his brother. 37 hours per week for one sport. On average, most of our high school sports spend anywhere between 12 to 15, 16 hours, depending on their game schedule. Guys, that's on top of 35 hours they're sitting over there in the building and the 2 to 3 hours of homework, and yet we're expecting our kids at this age to get 9 to 10 hours of sleep. Thankfully, my student didn't have a set of keys in his hands that night after the situation. Thankfully, I was there to help him de-escalate and to triage the situation. But I worry about those students who drove off in an emotional frenzy, who could have an accident or cause an accident. I worry about those athletes who go home and decide to end their lives because of something that may have happened at practice. I am terrified of the student who comes to school the next day and we become the next news report of school violence. Because our kids could do this, they're capable. Our coaches need to be trained. Our students need to know that it's not okay. It's okay not to be okay. You guys, when we get sick, we can call in. We can have a day off, but our kids are told to tough it out and show up to practice anyway, and that's unacceptable. Child and Adult Services, over 100 students in our corporation. There's currently a waiting list for all of our schools, and they're hiring additional life skill coaches and therapists to meet their needs. All of our employees, regardless of the hours employed, need to be trained and have the skills to see mental, emotional, and physical health of our students, not just on the bus, not on the classroom, but also on the field. Our students deserve this, and we must do better for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any visitors sign up today?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing. And there's definitely some food for thought there, so we appreciate that. We now move into our Mustang moment. So, Dr. Sanders, would you like to introduce them?
Yes, I would like to invite our junior high principal, Mr. Rensler, and our assistant principal and athletic director, John Sigland, to come forward. They have some people to recognize here tonight.
Athletics is about a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we learn through athletics. We learn a lot about who we are as people. We learn a lot about how to interact appropriately. You know, and wins and losses are just part of that learning. You know, I think that as we look at some of our athletic seasons, I think that we could agree that there's times that we would like to have won more games. But I think that with our 7th grade, our coaches, I guarantee that they wish that they probably would have won a few more games this last year. But I think there was a lot of winning that took place outside of the games. There's 2 instances I really want to talk about. The first was the very beginning of the season, and I'm just going to read what we got from the IHSAA. And these coaches were recognized by the administration from Paoli Junior Senior High School. It says, on Monday, August 7th, 2023, the Paoli community was hit hard by strong storms and 4 confirmed EF1 tornadoes. Due to the widespread loss of power and downed trees, power lines in Orange County, Paoli was forced to cancel school for 3 days. Later that week, Edgewood reached out to Paoli asking what was needed in our small community. Through those conversations between the administration at each school, Edgewood decided to hold a food drive when they would host Paoli Junior High's football team during the season. When Paoli traveled up here, and this is nothing, they said that the administration was communicated. It was really just the coaches that was taking care of all this stuff. But our coaches were able to organize a food drive, and Paoli was able to return home with 713 pounds of food and goods for the Paoli community. It says, needless to say, the administrators, staff, and students of Paoli have been humbled by this donation and the generosity shown by Edgewood schools and the community. They certainly deserve recognition for the hospitality and have truly demonstrated phenomenal sportsmanship through these selfless acts of kindness. All of us here in Paoli Community Schools wish to thank Edgewood Mustangs and their community. So that was another school that was recognizing you know, our school corporation and really our coaches and our football team for just being exemplary sportsmen in the way they went about that. And then the second thing, you know, tornadoes and everything, we read about that on the news, and there's other things that we always see, and we always say, I'm glad that's not us. I'm glad we're not dealing with that. Well, we had one of those moments at one of our football games, September 28th, 2023. We were playing Bachelor Middle School, and we had a student that had got injured on the football field. Our athletic trainer and one of our team parents, who was a licensed nurse practitioner, had gone out to tend to the student. He'd been hit in the back. He was kind of laying on the ground, and they were going out to see how he was doing. Well, Mama was obviously upset about that, and so she was coming down to see what was going on. And on the way to the football field, she collapsed, and obviously all the attention was given to the student on the field. Because that's where then we saw the immediate need. Mom was laying on the football field, and as Coach Linerode started to walk off the field after he was attending to the student, you know, one of our student athletes was like, this mom is unresponsive right now. And so, you know, our football coaches, you know, every year we're trained. We go through sudden cardiac arrest training. We do heat training, we do the bloodborne pathogen training, we do all these trainings. You know, and often it's like, you know, I'm glad we're doing these, but really I don't ever hope to ever have to use them. And I'm just going to read the letter that we kind of crafted. It just says, Edgewood Schools and the Edgewood Athletic Department would like to recognize the extraordinary bravery and quick thinking displayed by our 7th grade football coaches in a moment of crisis. Their swift actions, steady hands, and unwavering determination saved a life, reminding us of the impact individuals can have when faced with adversity. In the face of an emergency, the remarkable coaches demonstrated not only their expertise, but also their compassion and selflessness. Their knowledge of CPR, combined with their courage, helped save the life of one of the members of our Edgewood family. Their actions were not just a testament to the training, but also an example of the care they displayed for their team and families. We extend our deepest gratitude to these hometown heroes. Their actions exemplify the true spirit of community, reminding us that every life is precious and every moment counts. Through their dedication, they have not only saved a life, but also inspired us to be more vigilant, more prepared, and more compassionate. With deepest respect and heartfelt gratitude. At that night, we had to perform CPR. Coach Linerode performed CPR until our athletic trainer was able to take over, and we had an ambulance show up. We had an AED that had to be used on the field that night. And as we looked at the report from all that, you know, if it weren't for the action of our coaches, our Edgewood community would be one less at this time. And so it's just awesome to see how they were able to take care of themselves. They were able to take care of this this adult that needed their help. You know, in all that moment, not only was Coach Linerode performing CPR, but Coach Kavanaugh and Coach Van Meter were taking care of the football players, because that's a traumatic event for the whole football team to have to deal with. And so it wasn't just dealing with the mom on the field, but it was dealing with the other 12 to 15 guys that needed attention, and the other football team as well. After the game was over, we ended up calling the game early, but you know, they came together and just really cared for each other. You know, and that was just the atmosphere that I think was just awesome that they have created, and the community they created within the football team. So just like to take this minute to just recognize these guys. So Coach Kavanaugh, Coach Van Meter, Coach Linerode, if you guys come up here and just. These football players we've deemed our hometown heroes. So.
Well, thank you very much for sharing. Thank you for your.
Thank you for being involved.
Yeah, being willing to jump right in and save a life. That's a good example for our students and players. So, thank you. Sure.
How was the AED? Did that work out? Did you guys use the AEDs? Okay. Was it self-explanatory? I know that they have directions and so.
Yeah, it it's automated. It speaks to you. It tells you every step of what to do.
Okay, good deal.
It is his job.
Good deal. That was what it's for then. Yeah, that was what it was for, yeah. And where was it? Where did you have to go get it from? The junior high building?
It was in the
Concession stand.
And typically the athletic trainer keeps one on them.
Okay.
At football games. And so there was one in the athletic training office as well, but I believe that one of the officials had gone and got it out of the concession stand and brought it down. So it felt like, and I'm sure as they were doing that, it felt like forever when it was all going on. We went back and was able to find the event on video. It was really 2 to 3 minutes. It was not nearly as long as it felt, but it felt like hours.
Different kind of stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your quick actions.
Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. Kind of hard to go on with regular stuff now, but we have to. Next is our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes for September 18th, 2023, which was the public budget hearing. Also for September 18th, 2023 was our regular board meeting. And on September 20th, 2023, there was a work session. This consent agenda also includes the treasurer's report for August of 2023. And Mr. Durnall, the claims, please.
Thank you, sir. Gross wages on September the 1st, 2023 for $737,818.31. For gross wages mini payroll for September the 5th, 2023 for $1,423.06. for gross wages on September 15th, 2023 for $732,543.74. For gross wages mini payroll for September the 28th, 2023 for $2,303.84. For gross wages for September 29, 2023 is $740,382.94. For a grand total for wages is $2,214,472.89. Vouchers, prepay claims, September 1st through September 31st, $1,222,237.88. And for claims regular vouchers, October 23rd, 2023, $539,034.47. And claims for for sale vouchers for October 24, 2023 was $16,387.51. For vouchers, grand total $1,777,659.86 for a grand total of $3,992,132.75. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. We also have personnel, resignations, retirements, non-renewals, leaves, and terminations, C1 through 12, and D, personnel appointments and transfers, 1 through 33. There are also a couple donations we're happy to have. One is $500 from Fairfield Friends Meeting, and that will go to the EHS Journeys class. And also $875.49 from Donors Choose to EPS Stephanie Truax's Classroom for Supplies. There's also 2 trips, junior high journalism students to Boston and EHS FFA students to Indianapolis. Jerry, would you like to expand on that?
Sure. Both of these are pretty exciting trips for the students. First of all, we have 5 7th graders who will be going with teachers and parents to the National Journalism Conference in Boston. Stephanie Ayer and also Ken Greil have been organizing this trip. While they're there, they will be able to collaborate and work with and learn from other journalism students, and our students will be able to show the work that they're doing and get some feedback and maybe some new ideas for that. So it's November 1st through the 5th. Most of it's paid for by a grant, but the parents are, actually they were glad to pay $400 only to be able to send their students to Boston for this experience. And then the other is the FFA National Convention, which is in Indianapolis, November 1st through the 4th, and we have a really strong group of FFA students, and so that's just important for them to go and participate, and it builds up their leadership and makes them stronger students.
It's exciting for them to be able to do those things. And finally, for the consent agenda is consideration to surplus the Edgewood Intermediate School's old lunchroom tables. So do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'd move approval.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move to a supplemental personnel report, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Irwin.
Yeah, so you guys should have received some information on this for the supplemental personnel report. This is due to a new law that the legislature passed this past year. It's Indiana Code 2026-511.2 that just requires us to pull out certain personnel and pull them into a supplemental personnel report that is voted on upon the board separate from consent agenda. So we're just complying with that new law for this personnel, and this is for a person that's being appointed to nutrition services as a cook cashier sub.
Okay.
I move approval of the appointment of the cook cashier.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Questions?
This was conversed with our legal counsel.
Yes.
So we're good on this, Christine? this law passed?
I think it was in this past General Assembly, and so it took effect after June 30th of this year.
Okay.
So starting July 1. And this is the first time that we've come across this. And so other schools have come across the same thing. It's not an unheard of thing at this point, and all other schools are pretty much handling it the exact same way.
Just for the record, I think it should be noted it's Katie Thompson. So it's been moved and seconded. Are there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now we move into the Assistant Superintendent's report. Mr. Irwin.
Okay, so I'll try to not make this take forever because I'm going to try and cover a few extra things here tonight. But education fund, we'll start there as we normally do. Things are moving right along. Appropriation-wise, we're definitely in a good position, probably a little bit more, quite a bit more than what we actually need, which really isn't a worry. Appropriation is just that authority to spend. End of year still projects to be up, which is definitely a good thing as we move into the season where we start to address staff pay and benefits. So we're excited about that. I did take some of the actuals from ADM, obviously the stuff from the month of September, which was a 3-pay month, and try to dial that into some of the future. So our ADM, the projection that they were using versus what we certified was what we certified was a little lower. So you'll see in November and December a take back as they reconcile those counts. And then they have different reconciliation periods throughout the school year. And you'll see those once we get into the 2024 projections. But again, I've tried to account for as much as I can in there, as well as some of the pieces that are, as we look at like staff pay and benefits. So kind of running some of those simulations. Hopefully here soon, we'll be bringing forth those things to you, hopefully in the month of November, to try to get them all set up. I like to have those taken care of before we get to the holidays. So that's always nice. And debt service fund. There's no revenue or expenditures in the debt service fund in the month of September. Again, that's normal. You see most of what happens in the debt service fund typically happens in 2 months. So this year we'll see a little bit happen in December as well, just because we're continuing to switch our debt service payments from going from a January, June payment to getting into the January, July payment to a June, December payment as we kind of move around that payment schedule. But again, nothing much has changed there. And then the operations fund still remained really steady. So things have stayed pretty consistent. Still shows us eating into a little bit of cash in the operations fund. That's not a worry at this point. That's about as even as you're going to get when you look at the total size of the budget and the numbers that we're dealing with, especially when a lot of those costs are typically variable throughout the year when you look at the maintenance and updates and upkeeps around the school corporation. So again, we're sitting in a great place there across the 3 funds. I did want to kind of give some quick updates as it pertains to things going on around the corporation with facilities, talking about the 2023 bonds and those projects. So right now we're still finishing up and working on closing up the design phase and those projects through the 2023 bonds. So when you talk about the new preschool, the student activity center, the high school kitchen, those 3 projects are going to consume the most time just because of the amount of work that it's undertaking. Those floor plans are continuing to move around a little bit as we continue to work through and kind of firm up some of those ideas of what we want that to look like and how it's supposed to function and meet all the different codes. Hopefully here soon in the next maybe month or so, we'll be able to start to share some of those visuals so that people can start to see some of the floor plans and those sorts of things. But it's moving along well. The goal is still to try to bid a lot of that out at the same time for economy of scale, which saves the school corporation hopefully a lot of money and will help expedite some of the time process in order to get those projects done. We're trying to make sure, too, that we're trying to take into account, like with the new preschool, if we need to build on future growth, are things planned in a way that we're not spending money on top of money, right? To be good stewards of those funds. And again, with the Student Activity Center, that focus is continuing to serve as many different sports as possible and in as many different ways as possible, whether that's practices, events, and actual things that go on from day to day, whether it's academically during the school day. So there's been a lot of time and effort put into that, a lot of different meetings that continue to take place. And I think we're getting real close to starting to be able to share more of those details out to the public so that people can start to really get excited about what's coming down the pike, and we'll continue to get input from all the different stakeholders like we've been doing through the process as we say, hey, this is the thought, what do you think about this? Is this going to work for us or not? So that's moving along quite well. The elementary finished replacements and those sorts of things, we've had a chance to meet and look at some of the design ideas, and they're going to bring those back at a later meeting for us to continue to work on picking that out. And Skillman, which is our construction management company, they're continuing to look at, as details get more and more down into the weeds, they're continuing to update those budgets as we look at what the cost of those projects are going to be to make sure that we're staying on track with the money that we have allotted for those projects. So that's just a constant process. We'll continue to try to keep you updated as much as possible. And then, like I said, hopefully here soon, share out some of those details. And then one other quick item of area, HVAC projects. So it seems like a while ago that we approved some of those projects. Some of that stuff takes time because chillers are about a 36 to 38 week wait time. So a lot of that chiller work that's going to get done is going to be fall of next year, but some of the stuff like the auxiliary building out on 46, that work should be completed hopefully by the end of next summer. So we're trying to time up the boiler. There's 2 boilers in that building. We're trying to time up getting that second boiler replaced to make sure that we have hopefully very little chance of anything like what happened out there around Christmas Eve last year. So we're continuing to work on that and work through schedules. We've started having meetings and working on submittals and getting equipment ordered and stuff like that for those projects that are going on. And then some of the air handling unit work that's going to go on in the elementary schools, that will happen spring, summer. That's some of the stuff that's dealing with some of the humidity issues that we have in the gyms there at the elementary schools. One other quick thing that is exciting, the high school gym floor is being close to being done after it's getting refinished. So if you remember, we had an insurance claim at the beginning of January last year because we had a roof leak that caused some issues on our gym floor. We tried everything underneath the sun, try to remedy that situation. The last thing was to do a complete sand down, complete repaint and everything. So what's exciting out of it, our gym floor looks tremendous. It's going to look awesome. We're expecting it to be done, I think, Friday of next week. Is that right, Dirk, that we should be on it? I think that's the timeline. Yes. That, even better. So we'll hopefully be on it soon, and hopefully you guys get a chance to come in there and see it. I think you'll be very pleased with how it's turned out. So it's been a good deal. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Any questions? I do know too with the new projects, because of lead times for equipment and things like that, that they're taking that into consideration and trying to get certain like electrical switches and things like that ordered quickly and get those in the works so that we don't hit a lot of downtime waiting on those.
Yep.
So they're doing a real good job of scheduling everything together. So. Question?
Do we have the bond funds in hand now?
Yes.
Okay, and then when's the first payment due on those?
First payment on those bond funds is June of next year.
Okay, 2012, okay.
If the board is free after the meeting, we could go over and take a look at the gym.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to move into the 2024 budget adoption. There are 6 items, and what we'll do, unless there's an objection by a board member, is we'll have Mr. Irwin cover all 6, and then we'll list each of them in a motion and take them all together, like I said, unless the board member prefers to do it separately. So, Mr. Irwin?
Okay. So we've been going through this. It's been a couple-month process now. And so we did our budget hearing as required by law last month's board meeting. So this month is adoption. On August, dating all the way back to August 25th was when stuff got posted to Gateway and those notices went out. Again, things are posted to our website, posted on Gateway and all of those pieces. You guys should have seen a copy of all of the resolutions that you are being asked to approve tonight. I tried to put some reminders on there because some of it's misleading when you look at it at surface level. The first and foremost, talking about Form 4, which is what you're signing to adopt the budget, that rate that is on there, that will not be our tax rate. Our tax rate, our total tax rate should land right there around $1.05 this year, which is a couple pennies lower than what it was last year. Again, it's kept our levy a lot lower. We've been able to do all of this even with all the projects that we're talking about with the 2023 bond. Again, when you put in, and I do the budget, I have to use 85% of last year's AV, and it factors in that tax rate based on 85% AV. And I also had to use an estimation of what our 2023 bonds were gonna be prior to sale, which those, again, being conservative, you estimate a little bit high because you can always come back down. And so you see that, and when you sign that Form 4, it's an elevated rate. Our rate will fall lower. We've kind of gone through this process the last 4 or 5 years, so hopefully you're pretty familiar with that. Capital projects, plan and bus replacement plan resolutions, those just go along with those 2 plans that you've been able to see over the last couple of months. They're also, again, posted to our school website and on Gateway. The other resolution is our last 6 months transfer resolution between Education and Operations Fund. This isn't much different than essentially what we planned all year long. We're well under the state required 15% or less. I think last year we were at 11 or 12%. So we definitely have wiggle room there, which is great to have that flexibility. So that just locks in that number as we pull forward. That's just a required document that they want to see whenever we go through the budget process. The 2024 budget resolution is just a resolution that grants Jerry and I the opportunity to come back and make adjustments to the budget once our 1782 notice comes in. And again, the 1782 notice is just our budget notice. When that comes in, we're able to make adjustments in that notice to make sure that we hit where we want to hit on a tax rate. If we say, hey, it comes in at $1.05 and some odd cents or whatever it is, we can always make some adjustments. Like last year, we pulled a little bit of money off of our levy and our cash balance in order to lower the tax rate. And so we have that lever and that ability to make those adjustments down within the 1782 notice to hit where we want to hit or make those adjustments. And that's what that resolution does, is that you guys are granting us authority to make that change if need be when the 1782 notice comes in. And then the last one is the resolution that authorizes tax anticipation warrants. Tax anticipation warrants are just the interim cash. We get tax disbursements twice a year. This is just cash that flows in between that. Because of our old cycle, we pay a lot of our bond payments in January and in July. And when you do that, the way it's been set up, essentially we end up front loading about 6 months of levy when we make those payments. And it's kind of oddballed our cash flows of how that works. So we need that just to do the interim cash until that tax disbursement comes in, and we always end up right at the end of the year. So it's just kind of that interim fund borrowing to make sure that our account balances don't go real negative. This tax anticipation warrant, they charge us the interest. We levy that within our debt service budget, and so this resolution authorizes the ability to be able to do that. If I put an estimated amount in there of 25 grand, again, estimate high, it can always be less. So those are the 6 resolutions.
Okay. I will entertain a motion for the 2024 budget adoption would be to adopt the 2024 budget, levy, and tax rate, Form 4, to adopt the school bus replacement plan resolution, to adopt the capital projects plan resolution, to adopt the resolution to approve the last 6 months transfer from the Education Fund to the Operations Fund, the 2024 budget resolution, and finally, the resolution to authorize tax anticipation warrants for 2024. Do I have a motion?
I so move. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I appreciate the information and
Yep.
the thoroughness of your presentation, Mr. Earl.
So on those tax warrants, we don't have to, we're giving you permission now after tonight. We're going to need it, and you're going to do it.
Yeah, so I've already started the application. I
Okay.
have to turn in the cash flows this Friday. But at a certain point, you're just giving me permission to go through it. Like, I can start the application, and I can do all of those things. But this is, you guys are giving permission for us to levy for the actual interest. I'll have to bring you a resolution later that gives me permission to actually participate in the program. So you'll see one more resolution as it pertains to the bond bank, probably in November. but that doesn't deal with the budget. This one is for the budget because we have to levy for the interest that's paid for the interim borrowing.
Any further? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Now we'll go to the Director of Teaching, Learning, and Ready Schools report, and we have Jennifer Barrett with us this evening for that. What's that?
She's not quite ready.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't think we'd go through the budget that fast, I'm sure. It's surprising. Well, they're working on that. Is the streaming, live streaming working right now?
We're doing testing tonight.
Okay, testing tonight, okay.
That's good, so we can edit out this part.
Yeah. They could hit fast forward.
While we're doing that, my computer's updating the new app.
Of course.
Of course. I am actually cheating tonight, and I'm not going to do a presentation by myself. So, Jen Anderson, take note, cheating is allowed.
What?
Let other people help present.
Oh. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is just an update on where we are with the digital fabrication grant. This is one that I was telling you about a couple months ago. I said that we had received $56,000 and we were going through working out the implementation plan. What we actually found over the last 2 or 3 months is that the $56,000 really was just a very minor detail in all of this. I would argue probably the least interesting part of this grant is $56,000, which I probably would have never said in a million years. But we basically, after starting the process of planning for this grant, we realized that the actual planning on the back end of this was going to benefit kids way more than anything that we could actually purchase and put in their hands. So we had 4 goals of the digital fabrication grant. One of those is to figure out how we were going to spend the money. We also wanted to increase the capacity of our labs. In other words, while the kids are in there, we wanted to make sure that we were offering them additional opportunities. In other words, if we saw issues, like we didn't have enough 3D printers for projects, we wanted to be able to add 3D printers. If we wanted to enhance what we were doing with robotics, we wanted to be able to do that through this grant. And just open up additional opportunities for students that they weren't currently experiencing. So some ways that we're doing that: we are working in the EJHS design lab, trying to make it safer for staff and students. What I mean by that is we're putting about $4,000 into updating the HVAC exhaust fan in there, as well as the dust collection system that we currently use. That is the least exciting part of what we're doing with these funds, by far. We are also, the kids are designing and building mobile kiosks that will be used for all of our student-run businesses. So you'll start seeing those literally roll out for basketball games, after-school events, and you will see our kids there working as you are coming into games or anything like that. Do not be surprised if you see a nice big monitor showing you the latest apparel or the latest products that can be created by our student-run businesses, and make sure that you stop and buy something because we are counting on you for those sales. We also are buying some additional tools for metal working at the junior high lab, some additional Prusa 3D printers. One piece I'm super excited about is robotics is no longer just an after-school club at the junior high. Miss Kelly Grimes has about 75 students signed up for after school, which is incredible. But there's a whole other population of students that are already very busy after school. And so what happens is we have our robotics club, and we have our kids who play sports and other after-school activities. And so what happens is there is a split, and you can't do both. And so Kelly, and along with the junior high administration and counseling team, they are actually going to offer robotics next year as an elective in 7th grade for those students. So we are purchasing not just VEX IQ competition kits for our competition teams, but now classroom bundles for those students that are interested in coding and programming, but don't necessarily have that time after school to be able to do that. In addition, we are getting into the plastics business, and that does not mean cosmetics. We are getting into what's called precious plastics, and this is such a tremendous opportunity for our kids. We are actually purchasing the equipment to build a commercial-grade shredder to put down in the makerspace at EPS and EIS. What that will look like is over the next several months, we'll be working on this process where we will be taking plastic recyclables from our community, shredding those down. Our little guys will be sorting and doing all of those pieces. And then we're going to take those up to the high school where we have an extruder, which is just a fancy word for a heater, and molding all of those down, melting them down, and molding them into large plastic sheets. And that becomes material that we use for furniture design, jewelry, keychains. So instead of purchasing the plastic that our kids will be using, we're going to start taking those products and actually doing something with that and creating that ourselves. Then the best part is those semi-finished products go right back down to EPS and EIS, and they put the finishing touches on them down there with customization with their Cricut machines, things like that, so that all 3 of our labs are now going to be involved in our student-run businesses. In addition, you will see some embroidery options coming out from ILC Designs that will be delivered here in the next week or 2, and we will have capabilities just like any commercial business in our area. We'll have a 14-color embroidery machine that we'll be learning how to use for hats, sweatshirts, you name it, bags, we can embroider on it. We will have a screen printing business up and running by next school year. After our Edge moves over into their new space, that will become our screen printing area for the next part of ILC Designs. And in addition to that, we are continuing to invest in our PBL cohort support to make sure that our teachers are continuing to learn how to teach in ways that make the content engaging and relative to what the students are doing day in and day out. So, like I said, that is actually the least exciting part of this entire grant, even though it's really neat to think about these opportunities for our kids. The 2 best pieces of this grant, and actually are byproducts of the planning of this, is that we are looking at increased class alignment with EJHS and EHS. And basically what that means is, K-5, we really get the kids down into the makerspace. We let them explore. If you ever get an opportunity to come down and see John Kerr at work, as he is working with 2 classes at a time, and they are building and making, and just the creativity is pouring out of their little ears. That is exactly what we want them to be doing at that K-5 stage. And as they head into 6, 7, and 8, that's where we really become more invested in terms of the kids coming down and they are connecting those opportunities to the content that they're learning. And that's where Megan Scott does such an amazing job there. And then what happens is we head up into the high school, and we're really starting to reframe that for our high school and saying, we want this to be more student-driven. We want the kids to be the ones that are going in, and they're looking for those interests that they start building back in junior high, they start building back in K-5, and how do we keep that passion going so that work beyond 12th grade doesn't stay work. Work becomes a career that they love and that they're passionate about. So I'm going to pass off to Mr. Dirk Ackerman and Mrs. Amy Winkler. They're going to talk about the work that has been done at EHS over the past few weeks. And I will say that this work is going to impact our students for years to come, and the amount of work that they have done and collaboration that has taken place is just incredible in terms of not only the capacity of it, but in the short amount of time that this has come together. So I'm going to pass off to them because they are way more exciting than I am, and you guys have a copy of what they're going to be talking about.
So I'm going to let Amy start talking about the new next level pathways that we have. Pathways are the newest requirement from the state, building career pathways for students. And we are attempting to build as many pathways as we can to benefit students. I will tell you, for a lot of schools, these pathways are coming through industrial tech still, and other programs that many schools back in 2008, 2011, through all the budget cuts there were, we cut our programs. We went down one business teacher, we went down 2 IT teachers, went down a fax teacher. So now it's all coming back around. As anybody in education will tell you, education is very circular. So we're back around to really needing those types of spaces. The ILC is going to be a major contributor to this, and some additional staff that we've added has been a tremendous help as well. So Mrs. Winkler has really done great legwork to look at the classes, look at what we have, and then together the 3 of us have met a lot to talk about what are the possibilities that we could create in pathways for our students.
Hello. So beginning with the class of 2023, the state somewhat drastically changed the graduation requirements, and the current requirements are called graduation pathways. And a lot of students are going to meet one component of graduation pathways by completing a pathway, which is a series of 3 classes that is related to a particular career interest. And the state provides the pathways that we can choose from as well. They're very specific about the courses that students have to take to meet that requirement. We currently have 5 pathways, but we really have worked hard to increase those options for students as much as possible, because we really want to go beyond students, just checking a box and meeting a requirement. We really want to have as many options as possible so that the experience of the pathway is very intentional, so that we're meeting the needs of as many students as possible in terms of matching their interests with these courses. So, as they said, after a lot of some research and conversations and just coming together, we realized that we are actually adding 9 additional pathways, which we're really proud of. Okay, so here's a list of 9, and I will give a kind of a brief summary of those. And many of these pathways, I will say, we really already had some of the classes in place, but in some cases we just didn't have that 3rd class to complete the pathway. Some of these, though, are actually going to be brand new as well, which is exciting. So the first pathway, Biomedical Sciences and Technology, is fantastic for students interested in the medical field or lab sciences. We already have the first 2 classes in the pathway, which are already extremely popular. So we're just adding that 3rd component, which is medical interventions. So again, students will be able to take 3 classes in a sequence and then complete a pathway. The computer science, we're actually in the process of continuing to do some research. There are a variety of computer science pathway options that we can choose from. So we are going to be looking at different curriculum options before we select which pathway we're going with, but we definitely want to provide that option. And I don't think I mentioned yet, but obviously with these pathways, they are fields in which we're going to have a lot of great career opportunities for students. The next, engineering, again, we've had 2 engineering courses in place for quite some time, and we're adding the third one to complete the pathway, which is called Computer Integrated Manufacturing, which we're very excited about because we can bring in robotics. That has come up earlier this evening. So students that are coming up from elementary on up that are interested in robotics will be able to continue with an interest in the class. Marketing and sales will be a brand new pathway. This year, for the first time, we're offering marketing fundamentals. Students are already starting to get a lot of just real-life experience in that class. By adding the third course, the digital marketing, it's just going to allow students who are interested in that field to really expand on that interest. Also, students that are involved in the Edge Media at the junior high, this is going to be an ideal pathway for them to move up into. For agriculture, as you know, we have a pretty robust agriculture program already, but most of the courses we've offered so far have really focused on animals, on the animal side of agriculture. So we're now wanting to add another option to expand those interests with plant and soil. So students that are interested in horticulture and landscape management and those sorts of things will have this new option as well. The next three pathways are actually related to culinary arts and nutrition science. For those three pathways, the first two courses in the sequence are actually the same. The third course that completes the pathway is different. So we can offer students a lot of variety by going that route. So while we won't necessarily be able to offer all of those classes every year, what we do when we meet with students for scheduling is we really base a schedule off their interests for the next year. And then finally, we're really excited to add a brand new pathway of early childhood education. So next year, we're going to offer the first class in the sequence, the early childhood education principles class. And we're excited that eventually students who are interested in this field can continue and hopefully get some experience in the new upcoming Childhood Center. All right, I believe that's all I have to share.
I just would like to talk just a second about scheduling at the high school. We start meeting with juniors this year. And so once we start and we've laid out the schedule, we really have to work hard up until this point to have everything ready, because you can't change things in the middle. You really have to almost work a year ahead of what you're doing. So I just want to say I really can't thank Mrs. Barrett enough for her contributions to us. You know, when we talk about the computer science, the biomed, that is tied to the Project Lead the Way. We need her to tell us what can we do, what can we not do. She has just been a tremendous asset to us. I can't say enough good things about what she is doing to help us at the high school. And then secondly, I just want to say, Brad, every time I talk about early childhood education, I think about you, because you've been talking to me since about 2010 about a daycare for our staff and for this area. And so I just hoping that you'll be really excited about that as well. So I'll let Jim finish it up. I do want to say that I'm being really good to Dr. Sanders, because I really want to steal part of his show to talk about the great success we had this weekend, but I'll let him talk about it.
It's good to know they aren't too tired of me out at the high school, so it's always a positive. Some last pieces here that we are looking at. That fourth goal is getting kids into these spaces and getting kids ready for these opportunities. And so we're also working with Amy and her team at the high school and creating additional courses. And they aren't really creating as far as just using them in an innovative way. And so our freshmen and sophomores will have an opportunity to take career exploration, which allows them to get down into our ILC and either experience working in one of our student-run businesses or explore a passion such as printing, engraving, AV, whatever that looks like. We have a student this past week that just has a passion for a certain designer, and she brought in a picture of a stool, and she said, I want to create this. And Mrs. Wilson said, okay. And she had an old piece of cherry wood, a beam that came from a barn back in 1860. And she drug that out of storage, and they cut off a piece of that. And this junior spent the next 3 weeks in the design process creating this stool that she had a picture of, and in her mind, she wanted this. And not only does she create the stool, but she's also created a process that we can mass market these and create these so that we can actually sell them in ILC designs. So it's things like that, you know, kids that are coming in and saying, I want to be able to do this, and it's Mrs. Wilson saying, let's figure it out. And that has just been an incredible opportunity, and we need to expand that to more and more students. So that career exploration course will be one that will be offered, and then we will be looking at for our juniors and seniors that will actually be an internship opportunity. Finally, just talking about those student-run businesses, just to kind of reiterate some things that you probably already know, ILC Designs, we are focusing on printing, engraving, construction, and AV projects in there, as well as now adding embroidery, screen printing. We know all about our coffee corral. The EHS Design Lab is doing many of those pieces as well, and our EPS and EIS Makerspace are now coming on board. So these are official businesses here at Edgewood that we're excited to promote, and I think that you're going to see some stamps of approval from anywhere from our 5-year-olds all the way up to our 18-year-olds, and they will all have a hand in some of these things that will be going out into our community. So spread the word. Anytime you hear of people heading to a business maybe looking to frequent something that we can do here, we would love for you to think about us first and send business our way, because we certainly have the capability to be able to meet those needs here within our community. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Not sure if you mentioned the 5 current pathways.
Yeah.
You mentioned the new. Did you mention
The 5 are that we currently have are agri-science based on animals, business administration, band, choir, and visual arts. And these are the 9 new pathways that will be implemented next year, not just for a graduation requirement for students, but an opportunity for kids to really explore what they enjoy before they take that next step after high school. So that's a piece that we're going to be marketing to our students and our families, that this is Edgewood's providing opportunities for them to really kind of get into the weeds with this and decide what they like and what they don't like. And they might try a principal's course in computer science and think, this is the worst thing ever. I want them to know that when they're freshmen in high school and not freshmen in college, and they're paying thousands of dollars to learn that lesson. So I'm excited about the opportunities that we're going to be able to share with our families and roll out with our 8th grade all the way on up. In fact, the marketing for this, I just went over to our marketing fundamentals class this morning and laid the job on them. They're creating all of our flyers, all of our videos, everything that will go on our webpage will all be student created. Mrs. Winkler, Mr. Ackerman, and I, we're not sitting down and doing that. Every single piece of that's going to be student created, and we put them on a 2-week timeline. So their deadline is right around the corner. I can't wait to see what they come up with.
Whenever I'm out and about talking with people, whether it's in a school-related meeting or not, somehow I always get the conversation going to, you know, what's up at Edgewood, and talking about pathways has been exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, say 10 years ago, yeah, we're doing great. Wasn't real particular about what was going on, but with these pathways and trying to say, hey, we're encouraging kids to find their dream and to chase that dream and giving them the pathway to do it. And so hopefully when they come out of Edgewood, I think I heard the term once, Edgewood Ready.
Edgewood Ready, that's right.
You know, the employers and people in that industry can say, we know what they've done. We know that they've been a part of this. You know, they've done internships. They've been in these pathways. And so, you know, they're ready for us.
Absolutely.
And so it's exciting because it feels like I can really talk about what we're doing now, because this is just really exciting. And it's just not, you know, the old preparing kids for college or whatever. This is preparing them for whatever pathway that is.
Careers, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. So appreciate the hard work and you guys.
I'd like to make one more plug too with the coffee shop. You know, we opened it midway through the year last year, and we stumbled through last year, and we knew it. But when you start something mid-year, well, we learned a lot. And number one, I just want to give kudos to Stacia Myers, because she now has a period for the coffee shop which makes a tremendous amount of difference for her to be able to really work with the kids, to be able to build things. She's been in my office 3 times out of the last 3 days about these new ideas, and I will tell you, you will be able to go to the coffee shop during basketball games, most, maybe not every, but you will be able to get a drink out of the coffee shop at most games. We're really going to plug that. But those kids are getting such a great opportunity. We have managers, we have workers, we have, you know, they're really getting real life skills on what a business is about and what does it take to run a coffee shop. So,
Dirk, how often did you and I talk about figuring out ways to engage our students, and that's what this is doing.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not that we are educating them,
Yeah.
they are taking control of their own education, and it's something that they will continue.
And I just,
think it's amazing.
it is, and I just learned our 3 managers don't even work in the coffee shop.
Yeah.
They keep the books, they do all the accounting, they you know,
schedule.
that is their part of the coffee shop. They are the managers.
Yep.
So it's really exciting, so.
Anything further?
I'm just curious, from back in the old days, is every kid's going to be on a pathway then? Academic honors,
So-
diploma, core 40, they all are?
So Amy, I'm gonna defer
I
to
mean,
you
I didn't know
on
if
that.
the whole school population was affected
No.
by the pathways or not.
No, excuse me, so graduation pathways, the graduation requirements, there are 3 components. The first is credits, so they still have to take
Right.
certain classes and pass and earn a certain number of credits. The second is employability skills, which I won't really talk about right now. And the third is called the post-secondary readiness competency, and that's where the pathways come into play. So there's a list of maybe 6 or so different ways that students can meet that requirement. One is to earn an academic honors or technical honors diploma. So if students meet that requirement with an honors diploma, they don't also have to complete a pathway. But the majority of students will meet that by completing a pathway.
So what percentage of the kids at EHS are graduating academic honors right now? Ballpark. It doesn't have to be completely accurate.
Well, I would think at least in the 30%, if not a bit higher than that. Higher?
Last count that we had on some of our stuff, because that's one of the grants that come in tuition support, you're probably in the mid to high 30s, sometimes in the 40% range, depending on the year. That ebbs and flows obviously with every class, but this past year I would say it was definitely in the 30+% range.
Okay, so this would be for about 60% of our kids,
Yes.
minus the vocational
There
kids.
are other ways too.
Okay.
Yeah, the nice thing about the pathway is that it's kind of a guaranteed route, because academic honors, we don't technically know if a student has earned that until the end of the 8th semester of high school. So we like to encourage students not to necessarily rely on that. Another way is actually, which a number of students will meet, is to take 3 college-level courses, which could be AP courses or dual credit courses. They do have to get a C average or higher in those courses. But students can do that without earning an honors diploma. So that will be another way.
Or they get a perfect score on the SAT.
Pretty much, which also comes later on in high school. So it's nice with the pathways that we're going to be, encouraging a lot of students to start their pathway as a freshman, for example, just to give themselves more options, but also to really start that career exploration earlier.
We hope when you look at some of the pathways, they're not really even, a lot of kids couldn't accomplish some of the biomed, the engineering in some of those pathways. So we really are hoping that even kids that do get an academic honors diploma, that those pathways are really beneficial, that if they really want to dig into that career opportunity. And then just a little bit, speaking a little bit to that, recently at a conference principals meeting, there's 11 other principals. Most of those schools were requiring every freshman to take at least 1 principal's class to get started. We don't agree with that. We think that that's pushing a little bit too hard, but we are strongly encouraging any student that is not starting on the academic honors diploma to take a principal's class.
Hence the core 40 group.
Pardon me?
Hence the core 40 group of students.
The core 40, not the academic honors,
general,
correct.
yeah, the general diploma.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't talked about is a student can go to the Hoosier Hills Career Center and actually complete a pathway in 1 year, because they're there half the day, and they actually earn credit for 3 courses. So that is another population you kind of mentioned that has other options beyond what we're offering at Edgewood.
Okay.
And I would like to give you a little teaser. We're going to be back to talk to you about another great opportunity for students that we're really excited about as well, but we'll talk about that later.
Love the teaser during.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Okay, we have consideration for the core project curriculum, and this will be Jennifer Anderson for this.
Good evening. I was here last month or the month before talking about the core project for the high school. Well, it's going so well that the junior high is now very invested and excited to join in on that. So I am asking for consideration for approval for the core project to replace Y-Tri, which is what the junior high had as their Tier 1 social emotional curriculum. So we're going to replace that with the core project for middle school.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll say.
Moving second. Any questions or comments?
Just this is a more advanced, better program than what we had before, or?
Yeah, Y-Tri, it was great when we started, and it was something that we were kind of all jumping in with the TIMS project back in 2019, 2020. Kind of there wasn't much out there, and so it had been used as kind of one of the tenets of a Tier 1 curriculum. It didn't quite fit our needs, and we were always kind of struggling with it. So Lane and Zoe at the high school found the core project, and they have a specific high school component and a specific middle school component. So they just felt it met their needs better than Y-Tri.
Okay.
So we didn't renew Y-Tri for this year, knowing that we were going to look into something else.
And this is covered by the TIMS grant, as I understand.
Yes, this is. This one is.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great.
Moved and seconded.
Great,
All
thank
those in
you.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now we have consideration to approve an adjunct teacher permit. Mr. Irwin?
So this permit is for Steve Ennis to serve as a math teacher on a temporary period of time as he fills in for one of our staff members that's going to be out for a medical procedure. Again, the courses here, this is the reason we went this route, as we were talking about honors geometry and finding someone that could continue to provide and ensure some continuity and quality education and make sure that those students were getting what they needed at the high school level. We were lucky enough to have Steve agree to be willing to come back and help us out for this period of time. And so, again, kind of reminding you, we've had to do this a couple of different times under different scenarios, but again, the board is the one that issues the permit, not the state of Indiana. And so you guys are approving the adjunct permit. The contract and the appointment sheet were in the consent agenda that you guys saw as well. So this is just that pull-out separate piece that you guys have to approve, and then I will turn things into the state pending your approval to say this is what we did, here's some information. You have to fill out, essentially, it's called a JOT form, which is essentially like a little survey so that they continue to see how it's being used and how it's serving schools.
Do we have a motion?
Approval of the adjunct teacher permit for Steve Ennis. Second.
Good, seconded. Any questions, comments?
This for 11 weeks, right?
Yeah, it's approximately 31 days.
Any further?
We'll have to show him around the building. I think he knows his way around.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That was consideration to approve the Corson agreement for this administrative building. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is for Corson to install the fire alarm system in this building. You'll see a number of different places around this building where you'll see white wall cover plates. And so there's some different places here that you'll see where there's different strobes or equipment or other things like that that go along with that system that have already been readied as far as when the building was being built. It wasn't a code requirement that that system be put in this building, but we felt with it being a taxpayer-supported building that it made a lot of sense to make sure that if something were to happen, that we were notified immediately to make sure that there's less damage that would happen to the building. So again, just trying to be good stewards, make sure that we take those precautions. And so We went ahead and we've got those things ready, so a lot of the pieces are in place. It's for them to come in and do the actual install. You'll see later a meeting for them to do the continuing monitor agreement, which is kind of like what we had at all the other buildings, for them to continue to monitor that equipment. So this is just for the install. So the price for this, again, is below. We know last month we talked about the board threshold changing. Well, this comes with an agreement. It's still coming back to you. So the price for this is $17,204, but it did come with an agreement. At this point, they have not gotten back to us yet on some of the recommended changes that Christine had made through just reviews of the terms and agreements. None of them, I think, very major, more so just kind of some stylistic changes based on the way they worded it that didn't really necessarily fit. Probably just a general terms and condition that they typically have with most of their agreements anyway. So what I'm asking you to do is to approve this pending satisfactory language. But again, it's for the install of the system to this building.
Okay. A motion?
I make a motion to approve the agreement with Corson.
Second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve Indiana State University Counseling Interim Agreement. And Jennifer Anderson's with us.
Hello again. This is for the SMART grant. So we have 4 individuals who are getting their master's in school counseling through the SMART grant, and which requires long-term not practicum, what's the interns, internship. So this is our agreement with Indiana State University that our current counselors who will be providing the supervision for that program, this is just the agreement that they will abide by what ISU needs them to abide by for that counseling internship.
And what is the cost of that?
None.
Thank you.
I move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions?
Four or five. 4 or 5.
We have 4 going through ISU for the Masters in School Counseling, and we have 2 going through Butler to get their licensed mental health counseling endorsement, and 1 going through, I don't know if she's picked her place or not, but she'll be getting her licensed clinical social worker endorsement as well.
So we have 6 paid for through the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they've already started the classes.
2 have started, and 2 are starting in June.
And they're currently working while they're going to class.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And the grant's paying for everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All of it.
Dr. Sanders?
I was just wanted to make sure that Christine had a chance to review the agreement.
Yes.
She has.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have Neola policy revisions. This would include, we'll combine these 3 together, Volume 34, Number 2, Volume 35, Number 1, and Volume 35, Number 2. And this would be the second reading of these policy revisions. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, so as I've mentioned before, and you are all well aware that we use a company called Neola, and Neola keeps our school corporation, as well as many others, up to speed on changes in law, changes at the state legislature, and they suggest that we make certain revisions to our school policies. When we get that information, we run it by our own legal counsel, and Christine does make some changes on that, and it's presented to the school board for your review. And so we did that in September, and you had a month to be able to look that over. And so I would like to recommend that the school board tonight approves the policy revisions for Volume 34, Number 2, Volume 35, Number 1, and Volume 35, Number 2.
I move approval.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments?
I just appreciate Christine looking over the legal aspect of it. It did seem like a lot of it was just wordsmithing.
Right.
Some of it is to update what the legislature did last January, February.
Yes, your work on this is greatly appreciated.
Yes.
It's hard for to get excited about some of those things.
I apologized to her, I think, one time after sending these, and she said, "Oh, this is riveting stuff." So, compared to the other things.
It's, the only people worse than lawyers in writing is educational professors.
Puts this table
Almost
pretty
like
bad.
Neola has lobbyists there like Neola has lobbyists to make a legislature explain something, so we gotta,
Right.
it's like it's,
So to be clear, is it okay if we combine these in one vote?
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we've come to our superintendent's report. So Dr. Sanders.
Well, you know, I say this all the time. One of my favorite parts of my job is to be able to brag about our students and staff, and to be able to go out and just enjoy watching our students perform. And our Marching Mustangs band, as I've said before, they practice more than anybody I know, and they're tired, and they keep working at it. So they participated, listen to their weekend. So they went up to Lucas Oil Stadium Friday afternoon and performed for Bands of America. Then that evening, I believe they had I went to the football game, but I believe they had a public show last Friday night. And then on Saturday, they went to Decatur Central High School and participated in semi-state. So they made it out of semi-state, and they're going to be participating in the state championship this coming Saturday back up at Lucas Oil Stadium. They did come in second place in Bands of America, which we're used to being number one, but every once in a while, I like to give everybody else a chance to be that number one band.
Only by 0.2 points.
Yes.
We'll let them take it, but barely.
give them incentive for this one.
And then we have some amazing runners, apparently, at Edgewood High School, because we have both the boys and the girls cross-country teams participated in the regional competition last Saturday. And the boys came in 15th place. And we had an individual, Zane Meyer, who qualified for state. That competition is this coming Saturday. And then the girls, as a team, came in 5th place in the regional, and that qualifies the team for the state competition. So they're be going to, I believe, Terre Haute this coming Saturday and participating in the state competition. And I mentioned this last month, but I want to mention it again. This Thursday night be a special night for Ellettsville as well as Edgewood, because the Ellettsville Chamber of Commerce will be having their awards dinner night and be giving out several different awards. One of them, the Educator of the Year Award, which will be given to Doug Wilson, who's an Edgewood High School social studies teacher, and he was nominated by Caleb Seitz. But the other special part of the evening is that our junior high media production students created the videos for each of the people who will be receiving the award. So they have been working hard to create these videos, and that'll be presented that night when they give out each award. So it'll be a very proud night for Edgewood this coming Thursday night. And then finally, I just wanted to give you just some enrollment numbers. We had our recent fall ADM count day, which came out to 2,638 students were certified. That's up 31 from last fall. If you know, we take 2 count days, one in October, one in February. So it's up 31 from last February, but down 13 from a year ago. And so we receive, anytime there's a student who's enrolling or a student who's withdrawing from any of our schools, we receive an email, and there's information on there about where they were going, where they came from. There's also some notes that help us to understand if they're withdrawing, where are they going to. And so that really helps inform us on how we're doing as a school corporation in terms of marketing when we receive a student, and also in terms of meeting the needs of our students when students withdraw. So Mr. Ackerman and I have already had conversations actually in analyzing. We've both discovered that it seems like we have an unusual number of students who've chosen online or homeschool this year. And so we're already having conversations about what can we do to identify, are there certain needs of these students that we need to make some adjustments to be able to keep them here at Edgewood? Is it a matter of that they're getting so far behind on credits? And so we had conversations today, really good conversation with Mr. Ackerman, his administrative team, and Mrs. Barrett, Mrs. Anderson, and Matt on what adjustments we can make to our scheduling, what opportunities we could give to our students in terms of additional academic support, and just trying to also reach out. I'm reaching out to some of these families and the ones who have chosen to homeschool, and not questioning their decision, but trying to understand it and see if there's any information that we could gather, and then we can make some informed decisions. So I put the 2 years, 2020 and 2021, in red to show that those were the COVID years, and so you can see that we're bouncing back, and so we continue to monitor this and try to. We're all about trying to get better. I think we're an excellent school corporation, but it's been our motto from day one of, how can we put ourselves into a better financial position? How can we put ourselves into a better academic position? How can we add more opportunities such as pathways for our students and provide additional opportunities? So it's just how you get better, and when you get better, that's good for our kids. So that's my report for this month.
Can I throw on one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Wells is such a big personality. We all know who's leading that team. Our cross-country coach is Mr. Evans, Zach Evans, and he's a junior high teacher. He's incredible. And that's a big part of the reason we've got a team and another runner there. So I just want to give kudos.
Thank you, Dirk. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, RBBEA comments, and we have Mr. Doug Yules this evening.
Yeah, just got a couple things. Today, Monday, end of the day, I see Steve Ennis walking out of the door, and I opened the door. I said, you gonna go take a nap now? He said, I'd survive in advance, survive in advance. It's his first day back, and I think he's been retired 5 or 6 years now. But it was funny, some interesting parallels with, stuff we were talking about bargaining this week. And I want to thank Dirk for finding him, reaching out, and at least asking him, because it does make a difference when you have a qualified teacher in the classroom. And now Miss Stelly has to be out for an extended amount of time. She's worked her butt off and stressed about all this stuff too, but I'm sure that stressed Dirk out as well. It's like, we got to be able to cover this. And Dirk's a veteran, very knowledgeable, so that was great. So I'm glad he was able to do it. So thanks for reaching out to him, and we'll keep him going. But he'll be in the swing of things. I'd say after Wednesday. I'll get him through a few days anyway. So thank you, Dirk, for being able to find him. And also, with as you all know, we reached a tentative agreement last week for a contract and all that, and we're hoping to have a ratification meeting go successful this Thursday. So I just want to publicly thank Matt and Dr. Sanders for all their hard work on their end, all number crunching and conversations. And we tell teachers that aren't involved in this, because obviously most are not, that you know, there's always stressful times and all that fun, you know, all that stuff. But all in all, it's been a very good professional relationship, so we appreciate it from our end to yours as well. So just want to say that here at the board meeting. And so hope to give you good news sometime Thursday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move to board member comments. I'll start with Mr. Darrell.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. Again, I'm so proud of this system. Thank you, Jennifer and Dirk and all of you for your presentation tonight. Great Fields Pathways, they're wonderful for the kids. Thank you for the lady, the visitor's comments tonight. We appreciate you coming, being a part of the board tonight, and congratulations to the band, and wish them luck Saturday.
Okay, Mr. DeMoss.
Just a clarification, is the band having a public show on Friday evening?
Yeah,
It's this Friday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I would encourage everybody, if you get a chance, they do work so hard. You heard them. And I think it's the juxtaposition of what Ms. Andrews was saying about how much our students, how hard they work, how much of themselves they put into it. They deserve every bit of our support, and I'm glad that she brought that to our attention, because I think it's important, and absolutely if somebody's not on board with supporting students and helping them understand that, yeah, if you need help, please, I'm here to help, and I hope that we can address her concerns going forward, because I think it's important for all of our students. But at the same time, what the junior high was talking about, that it was truly a life-saving event, and it's just so important that we keep in mind that there are a lot of great people in those positions, and we just want to keep those people supported, and we're not questioning them at all, but there are some perhaps that we need a little bit of support. And I want to thank the donors for their donations, because that was terrific.
Mr. Tucker.
Ditto to what Mr. DeMoss said, and Mr. Durno, and again, hats off to Coach Evans and the cross-country team. That was a great accomplishment. And Ms. Andrews, thanks for your comments tonight. Appreciate that. And as you were talking about that, I was starting to think about exactly what Mr. DeMoss said. My son was in the marching band, and he has a second job.
Yeah.
I mean, he was up here at 5:30 every Saturday, all summer, and it's a lot of work on these kids. And kids are strong, and they're resilient, but then on top of that, the kids are also working regular jobs to make money to pay for their band stuff and so forth. So there's a lot to being a young student nowadays, as it was in the past. Congrats to Mr. Wilson for his nomination for the Teacher of the Year for the Chamber. That's awesome, and thanks for the Chamber for taking the time to do that. That's kind of a neat evening. Hopefully there's a good turnout. Best of luck Thursday. Hopefully that's a good vote Thursday. So hats off to the Brain Trust on getting this close to ratification. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, it's very difficult to go last with these colleagues here that are, and I echo everything that they said. And it's exciting to talk about Edgewood and what we're doing and what we're about and where we're going. And talked about talking to other people, and when I do, I tell them I probably only know about 10% of what's really going on. I say, because there's just so much. Every time I turn around, there's something else that I didn't know that we were doing. We don't see all that day to day, being up here. So it's great for you guys to come in and share with us, and we really appreciate that. And just administration, thanks for working with the teachers. I hear a lot of school corporations have a lot of difficulty there, and I've never heard that here, and that's great that we can all work together. So we appreciate the association, we appreciate the teachers and the administration. Again, echoing everything everybody else said, and we thank you for coming this evening, and this meeting is adjourned.